Hey guys, welcome back, and today I'll be doing a new what if on my channel, and this is going to be one of the two new what ifs I'm starting on my channel. With my what if Krillin and what if King Cold having ended, I'm picking up two new ones. And obviously this is one of them. The other one I haven't actually revealed yet, but I will get around to it, but it's a script I haven't even looked at yet, so for now it might not be showing up for a while. Now, this is a what if that was actually suggested by my friend to also raise the idea of my King Cold what if. And I really enjoyed that one, so hopefully I will enjoy this one. Alongside that, I had been wanting to do something with Broly for a while, and I had him show up in one of my what ifs, but it wasn't until later on, so I didn't get to play with him too much. Here he is pretty much the main focus, and thanks to the fact that the new Broly is a Broly I love, I am really looking forward to this. After all, I hated the old Broly movies, and I didn't like the character at all. And now he is one of my favourites, so I have been wanting to do something with him for a while, so as you can imagine, I'm pretty excited. But for the most part, I do want to say that this bit will be a bit shorter than most others, as it's more of an introduction. I'll be doing this for most of my first parts from now on, making it a more shorter part so people can get a feel for the what if. And if it's received well, I will continue it. But with all this intro stuff out of the way, let's get going. Now, things in this timeline pretty much go to the same degree. There's just one small change, and a little bit of a tweak with a character. The king still wants to exile Broly for being stronger than his son, but this is public news in this timeline. One of the scientists blabs to a friend, and they blab to their friend, and they blab to their friend, and fastly the whole planet knew about this incredible strong warrior, and how he's so strong as an infant that he could possibly be the one to take down Frieza. And this means that eventually the likes of Frieza and King Cold hear about this child, and here Frieza takes a bit more of an interest. Frieza in this timeline isn't scared of the Super Saiyan. There's a small bit of fear, obviously, but Frieza takes a lot more interest. You see, a Saiyan who could defeat anyone, that's incredible to him. He would love to have a fight with something like that and put it in its place. Frieza isn't interested in the fight, he's interested in embarrassing the Saiyans. He would love to destroy every little bit of hope they ever have. And hearing of a boy this strong, that's interesting to him. He has kept tabs on the likes of Broly, but never really shown his interest. Eventually, the likes of King Vegeta decides to exile Broly, planning on sending him to the planet Vampa like normal. However, this also becomes public news, much like normal, and eventually spreads up to the likes of Frieza and King Cold. Now, here Broly is still sent to Vampa, but because Frieza caught wind of this and wanting to meet the Saiyan child had driven the king to this point, he decides he'll be paying a little trip. Not too far out in space off the planet Vegeta. He never announces his nearby presence, and in space he waits. And as the pod flies by containing Broly, he takes it. Now, Broly was on his way to surely have died on planet Vampa, and Frieza meets the young boy. He does take an interest in him, thinking how it will be funny to keep a Saiyan alive, and it might as well be one that is interesting and will also annoy the royal family. And right now, Frieza keeps Broly around more as a pet than anything, and he wants to taunt the king to some degree, and keeps the power of Broly in mind. So everyone knows that a mid-class Saiyan would have the power to be stronger than his precious prince. But for now, they have to wait a little while for the baby to get a little bit bigger. And far off, on a different planet, the likes of Paragus chases off after his son. And in this timeline, Paragus does go there, with Beat. However, with no Broly there, Paragus feels almost hopeless. Keep in mind, his whole goal was to overthrow the royal family and make sure the king learnt his lesson. But with no Broly there, he can't do this. Assuming that his son must have blown up into space, or maybe hit an asteroid, the pair are trapped on this planet, and Paragus and Beat begin to live on Vampa for now. For the pair, this is their lives for a few years, and maybe we will see them later on. Now, after Frieza had chosen to take in Broly, he decides that he wants to mock the family after a while. On his next trip, he makes sure to show off the fact that he had saved the boy from a horrible fate on the planet, with Frieza saying how he will now be looking after this monkey. All seem to miss how useful he could be. And, obviously, you silly Saiyans just missed an opportunity. With this being said, it enrages the likes of King Vegeta. However, there is nothing he can do. He can't stop Frieza, and just has to deal with it. It does make him change a bit of his son. He explains to his son and burns it into his son's brain that he must be stronger than Broly. That Broly will be dangerous. He's a monster and he's a non-Saiyan. With Vegeta taking this in, he agrees, and with all of this done, I believe I can cut forward, with the likes of Broly having been through a strange journey. Near the start of his life, he was treated as a pet or a weapon by everyone. No one treats him as a person, but more of a way to mock the prince. Broly is very much left to sort of survive on Frieza's ship, having to grab scraps from dining areas, having to sleep in corridors, just having to find his own way about life. With Frieza having only really picked up Broly to mock the prince, so after a few months of annoying the Saiyans, his interest in the boy had dropped. After a few months, he does think that Broly should probably be brought up to speed in terms of strength. At minimum, he wants him as strong as Q, so that when he needs Broly to bite, he can. After all, if he's going to keep Broly around as a pet, I might as well teach it a few tricks. But the way he gets this done is horrible. Broly isn't strong, and he has to catch him up in his fast way. He allows Zarbon and Adoria to beat up on the boy, and then throw him into a healing pod. It doesn't take long for Broly to get back up to full strength, and he's ready to, defend himself a bit better. However, his power only jumps up to 8,000. So once again, Frieza decides to allow the likes of Zarbon and Adoria to attack the boy once again. Having learnt a lot from the fight he had with them last time, Broly actually manages to hold his own very well. And the fact that Frieza notices this is a good thing for Broly. Alongside this, the boy's power level consistently rises throughout the fight, allowing him to catch up with the aliens very fast. With Frieza having caught interest in the boy, he calls off his henchman and grabs him, and then looks towards Broly, who is a mixture of confused, angry, and scared. The Emperor offers out his hand to Broly, saying how he apologizes, but he didn't know that Broly was a prodigy just like himself. With Frieza going on to comfort the boy a small bit, with this making everyone a bit confused, but after a few seconds of comforting him, he begins to punch Broly. Only once, and hard enough to knock him out. Everyone in the room is completely confused. With Broly passed out, he tells his men to take him into the healing pods. With Zarbon asking what was that about, Frieza goes on to explain how the boy could become handy. However, he just needs to make sure that he understands his place below him. With the Emperor turning back to Zarbon and tells him that the young man needs some chambers, he needs some clothes, and now he is fully part of the Frieza Force. And until he is old enough to look after himself, you are his guardian. He is your responsibility. Zarbon does agree with this and begins to sort everything out for Broly, getting the young man a room and some clothes, some proper Saiyan armour. With Broly now being treated much more like one of Frieza's elites instead of a dog, we can jump forward a bit. Only a few years, but it's just to give you an idea of how Broly's life has been. Now, after this short skip, we can see some normal stuff happen. Now, first off, most things go like canon here. The destruction of planet Vegeta happens, Goku is sent to Earth, Vegeta, Raditz and Nappa and the two rando survivors do get to live. But the one big change here is that Broly is part of the Force, long before the destruction of the planet. The reason Frieza destroyed the planet, even though he is interested in the Super Saiyan, he believes he has found him in Broly. and now is just molding Broly to be something that he can, you know, destroy one day. But for now, he is happy to have him as one of his elites. And this leads to the likes of Frieza almost getting rid of the other Saiyans who survived. But in the end, he does see their use. And now I want to talk about Broly. The boy is a bit different here. He isn't quite the same as his canon counterpart, being a lot more comfortable around people. Alongside this, he has picked up traits from Zarbon and Frieza, of him being a bit more well-mannered and a bit more elegant, but also he can be a bit more, well, tortury. He's not against being a bit brutal to his opponents, and even though the boy still holds his gentle side, he has a much rougher exterior, being somewhat akin to the likes of Android Saga Vegeta. And this leads to him, well, being a lot different. And this is all thanks to his upbringing. He understands that he needs to be tough to survive, so he is more Saiyan-like to a much bigger degree. Now, some other things are stuff like his intelligence and his battle abilities are much better here because he's seen a lot more battles and he's been taught things. But I believe this was a given. And for the next few years, things are pretty normal. Broly is sent on a lot of missions with Zarbon. Zarbon mostly only being there to keep an eye on Broly and make sure the boy isn't growing too much and is still manageable. But for the most part, the two have quite a close relationship. Not like father and son, even though Broly does see Zarbon as a father figure, it's more of a friendly bond, maybe uncle and nephew, more like. With Zarbon quite liking Broly, but for the most part, he's still very distant from him. Whereas Broly very openly shows his affection for Zarbon. Nothing major, but he does always defend him on the field and will keep an eye on him during missions. Now, very early on, Broly was far outclassing Frieza's best soldiers, and as he grew older, he soon outclassed all of the Ginyu Force. However, the Saiyan had gained a bit of a reputation for losing his cool and growing incredibly strong because of it, with this leading to a lot of people fearing the Saiyan, who for the most part is very nice and for the most part is very kind to people, and this means that most people leave Broly be. During this time, Broly earned himself the nickname as Frieza's Big Guns, and now I believe I've covered enough here. I believe that this timeline isn't too different for things that happened with the other Saiyans. However, one small note would be Vegeta would have probably had a goal to be stronger than Broly, as well as Frieza, with this making him a very small bit stronger. So let's say it's about 20,000 when he went to Earth. With this being the only change, a lot of things go down normally, with this leading to the likes of Krillin and Gohan heading to Namek, and everything on Earth went normal. Now, there is a bit of change here on Namek. This clearly is Broly, he's the biggest change here so far. With the likes of the Namek saga going mostly the same during the first half, with nothing big changing up till the moment where Vegeta fights Zarbon. Thanks to the fact that Vegeta was stronger on Earth and got a Zenkai from it, he is a lot stronger here, around 26,000. He still has his fight with Zarbon and it does go pretty similar, but he manages to do a little bit better and does give Zarbon a good run for his money. Vegeta being knocked out by the alien, he is spared to find the Dragon Ball he has, and the likes of Vegeta is healed up, and much like normal, he escapes. But with a small change here. Thanks to getting a Zenkai and Zarbon having come back quite injured, Broly goes with Zarbon in the chase against Vegeta. And when the rematch rolls around, the big change looming over Zarbon's shoulders is Broly. Broly is an incredibly strong fighter here, and he has a reputation for it. Even Vegeta knows that he is no match for Broly, but he can at least get his revenge on Zarbon. With the likes of Zarbon and Vegeta having their rematch, it's very clear that Vegeta is outmatching Zarbon here, much like he did in canon, and soon the Prince is in a position where he can kill Zarbon, and gets ready to do so, just to make sure he gets his revenge, but is stopped by the likes of Broly, having grabbed Vegeta by his head and throwing him away. With Vegeta unsure of what just happened, he turns up to see Broly, having moved from his position in a blink of an eye. Broly letting out his true killing intent, which honestly freezes Vegeta a little bit. Without ever being hit, he's almost on the ground in fear. Broly can't hide his power, and this means that, well, Vegeta's been sensing it the whole time. Broly's power is half of that of Frieza's currently. Broly walks towards Vegeta and begins to explain how you made a bad move when you started working against Frieza. I learned my lesson early on that Frieza is the strongest thing in the universe. Even myself at my max output isn't enough to stop him, and I'm the legendary Super Saiyan, whereas you're just a nothing, Prince. Saying this, Vegeta is shocked. He demands to know what he means by the Super Saiyan, but Broly already knows Vegeta and understands that Broly is different. Vegeta understands that Broly is some incredible Saiyan. Zenkais are incredible for him. He grows at an unbelievable rate, and Vegeta has also heard of the rumours of him losing his cool, and he knows that Broly is a force to be reckoned with. Vegeta is pretty much on the ground and ready to give up. Broly charges up a blast very close to Vegeta's head, with him smiling at the thought of killing Vegeta like this. However, a quick energy flares through the legs of Broly and a shout of solar flare is done. With Broly and Zarbon blinded, another energy flies by, grabbing the likes of Vegeta and a woman in a nearby cave, with these powers having flied away quickly and fast, but suddenly disappear. No scouters pick them up, and when Zarbon and Broly get their vision back, they scan the area, with the likes of Zarbon and Broly knowing that Vegeta had gotten away with some help. Broly turns towards Zarbon and tells him to head back towards the ship. Zarbon almost argues back, but he knows that Vegeta and presumably his friends are stronger than him. He is too weak to keep up with the likes of anyone else here, and does agree to sit this one out. And Broly then flies up into the air, scanning the nearby area with his scouter, trying to pick up anything, before smiling and putting one massive beam towards his hand. He begins to charge up a massive blast, and before long he fires it off. He destroys the entire landscape around him, pretty much making a massive crater on the side of Namek, with him not picking anything up from his scouter, like anyone retreating or trying to block it. He heads off to look for Vegeta, assuming that they must have headed a little further than he predicted, and heads off in the direction of Guru, where power can be picked up. But on the very outskirts of the crater that Broly just had made, we can see the likes of Krillin, Gohan, Vegeta and Bulma all hiding from the power of Broly. Vegeta is pretty heavily injured, not because of Broly, but thanks to the fact that he and Zarbon had a match, and that one blow from Broly was enough to put him in a state like this. The group have to get ready to come up with a plan, and they don't know what to do. But this is where I'm leaving this part. It's just an introduction to what I believe could be a fun, interesting idea, and if people don't like it, I just won't continue it. I don't really want to set a like goal, but if you want to see this continue, please either let me know in the comments or like the video. It'll give me an idea if people enjoy this or not, and if not, I'll get back to my usually, scheduled videos. And I know what my next video is, and I'm sure some people will be thrilled to see it. But for the most part, this is where I'm leaving this bit. Like I said, I've given you all the details I can do, and I hope everyone has a great day or a good night, and I'll see you next time.